Hey everybody, welcome back. You heard of this game? I don't know how many times I could make that joke. Oh my god, I clicked on something in OBS I never clicked on before. I don't know what this thing has modular panels? Since when? What the heck is... What is you can't... I know you can't see what I see. But I'm like, this is new. There we go. That's what I think that's what I'm used to my OBS looking like. Okay, I get it, alright? It's not relevant to you at all. To me, it's a little relevant, okay? I clicked on something. Now it's all a flutter. I don't know what to say. Okay, whatever. Just modularize me. Place me somewhere. Thank you. That's fine. I don't know how to... Do I still know how to use the software? If I hit this button? Yeah, okay. Sure, more or less. Alright, so that was a fun minute. That was exciting. What do we got going on here? Randomize me? Something doesn't feel right. You guys getting a little bit of deja vu? Or is that just me? Kane to Ubermom. I'm never gonna complain. Look, if we got 3, like, you know, Tainted Blue Baby in a row or something like that, I would be modestly annoyed. We get 3 or 7 or whatever Canes in a row, I don't really care, man. That's cool to me. I'm so cracked, Kane's just like a normal guy to me. It was worth a shot. You must admit it was worth a shot. Anyway, today is a, the heck day is it today? It's a Wednesday. I'm so... Look, I'm not necessarily going to go into detail on the daycare stuff again, just because there's nothing to talk about except that it's just business as usual, but it's got my weekly schedule all weird. You know, on a Monday to Thursday baby daycare schedule, Monday to Friday work schedule. I've had it with these snakes on this Monday to Friday plane. As Samuel L. Jackson said in the TV edit for Snakes on a Plane, a movie I'm embarrassed to admit I did see in the 12th grade. I saw it at a midnight showing the Thursday night it came out. Why? Well, I'm something of a memer myself. You got to remember that this was also in an era where we didn't really know what memes were yet. Only in hindsight is it apparent that meme culture, you know, actually started a little bit earlier than that. Actually, Richard Dawkins coined the term in that. Yeah, because I read The Selfish Gene, dummy. I'm familiar. I read it unabridged. I've studied contemporaneously and classically. You're nothing. You haven't even read The Red Queen Theory, a seminal work in evolutionary biology that may have subsequently been discredited. I don't know, okay? But, at the time, it was just a funny joke. Wow, snakes on a plane. Whoa, imagine that. What a concept. Now it's clear that that was, you know, one of the memes in the mid-2000s, but only looking back is it possible to diagnose it, you know what I mean? I will say, Snakes on a Plane has extreme, you know, like a boss type energy now, for sure. I mean, yeah, I was not smart I did not have good taste in high school, necessarily, let's put it that way. But I was at least smart enough to know when I had gotten roped into something that was not actually good. And I was very excited for Snakes on a Plane. I thought it was going to be the self-aware cinematic event of the season. I went in, I saw it with a friend of mine. The night it came out, it was just me and her and a staggering amount of other people who had a lot of similarities to me in terms of their manner of dress and also the things that they would laugh at. They were making jokes about Linux, and I was like, oh no, what have I done? Consolation prize. I mean, we do want to go alt path if possible. Saving our bombs is good. This is not bad, man. This is not bad. The movie started, and probably, I would say within like 15 minutes, I was like, oh no, this actually just sucks really bad. And they knew, I know the story of, like, you know, the studio wanted to call it, like, you know, Flight 71 or something like that, but then Samuel L. Jackson was like, no, you gotta call it Snakes on a Plane. And I gotta admit, that was like a marketing masterstroke, but it became pretty clear that pretty early on in that movie that this was actually not like a self-aware kind of like B movie that's going to be making fun of itself so much, and was much more just kind of like a joyless action comedy that takes place on an airplane. Like, by the end of it, I was like, it's not one of the greatest movie betrayals I've ever experienced. That, I mean, I would definitely say X3 in the theaters was really bad. After watching, you know, X-Men about 20 times as a middle schooler, and then X2, which was just like the best superhero movie ever up to that point, and for like a decent amount of time afterwards. X3 in the theaters was a slap in the face. And then also, I know that you know, the history has maybe led to some revisionist history of or a newfound appreciation for this movie. I enjoy the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. I was of the appropriate age to be very into them when I was younger. Spider-Man 1, it's a good movie. Spider-Man 2, it's a fantastic movie by you know, especially that era standards. Spider-Man 3 was another one of the great cinematic betrayals for me in theaters. You gotta remember, I wasn't seeing it in 2012. You know, I was seeing it the Friday it came out, and you know, was not impressed. I remember I saw it with a friend of mine, and like halfway through the movie, we just sort of looked at each other, and we're like, you know what? I should have done that earlier. We were just kind of like, what happened? You had such a good thing going with Spider-Man 2, and then but actually in the comics is a much more faithful recreation of the comics. Peter Parker's motivation, comically speaking, tends to be somewhere between being a noble hero and also his reticence to slide into his new cool guy Peter role. Okay, that's cool, but like, I paid like $16 for that ticket, man. Like, you have an obligation to me. I missed the part where that's my problem. Anyway, in theaters, those have got to be two, not necessarily the worst movies I've ever seen in theaters, but the ones that most failed to live up to expectations, and early on within the viewing experience, I realized it, and, you know, was like, okay. You know, in Arrested Development, when Tobias Funke says, I think I want my money back to Carl Weathers, when he finds out Carl Weathers is not a good acting coach? That's pretty much the same vibe. There's one more, Prometheus. Again, all I can say is it's another one where, you know, seeing it in theaters was very bad, and that dominated the discourse for a while. Then once everybody was able to pirate it for themselves and form their opinions, it started to come back a little bit, you know? People started to be a little bit more like, hey, this movie's not actually bad, you know? I work in science. I know a lot of geologists who are as stupid as that geologist. I have come to view, after a long period of really going in on that movie, I've come to terms with Prometheus, I think, and I've come to terms with it in the sense that I think I now recognize, that's pretty good, that's kind of just what Ridley Scott is like now when he does science fiction movies. You know, he's never gonna do another Alien. He's never going to do another Aliens. I guess that's James Cameron to begin with. But, you know what? We got so much HP. This doesn't happen too much. We might as well. But what you can rely on is beautiful art. You know, like great cinematography. A good cinematic vision. And then just everything else that's after that. Don't think too hard. Yeah, I guess. I thought it was going to be a sci-fi classic, man. Then, what the heck is going on here? Then, of course, when I saw it, I would say that's not the case. But I've softened my hate for Prometheus over time. I at least am begrudgingly admirant of its of the scope and scale of the movie, and still like a little baffled at the failure of execution, because it seems like it shouldn't. It seems like they got the hard parts right and screwed up the stuff that should have been a little bit easier, but whatever. You know, what is that, like literally 9 years ago now? So you gotta let it go. Oh, anytime I say let it go, I always think of the end of this movie from the late 90s called The Sixth Man. And it's basically, you gotta remember, like, when I was a kid, I mean, you, maybe, depending on your age when you're watching this, you had your Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thieves, you had your Aragons and stuff like that, or maybe you're of the same age, roughly, that I am. That's a huge get, man. Thank you. Nice bomb. But, when I was a kid, all we had were sports movies where dead people helped high school teams win championships. There was obviously, like, a big one is Angels in the Outfield. It's not a high school team, I guess, but there are a lot of sports movies where, like, something, like, supernatural happens. There was Rookie of the Year. A kid gets, a cast on his arm. Then the cast makes him, like, one of the greatest pitchers you've ever seen in your entire life. At the end of the movie, it turns out that his mom was, like, a Major League Baseball pitcher or something. I don't know, like, she put her World Series ring inside of his cast for good luck. But the worst, I mean, there's Like Mike, you know, where I believe Lil Bow Wow gets a magical pair of Air Jordans that allow him to play NBA caliber basketball. There's a few of them. Obviously, everybody knows about Air Bud. There's nothing in the rulebook that says a dog can't play basketball and so on. But I always return to The Sixth Man, which is a movie. It's kind of like How High meets Like Mike. It's a sad story, right? We shouldn't have used that. How are we going to get to the alt path, man? You know, this kid and his best friend, or maybe it's his twin brother or something. They're in high school. They're playing basketball together on the team. They're not that good, but they have fun, right? Like, the team is bad, but it's not about that. It's about the camaraderie. Then, one of the kids dies. Anton. And I can't remember how. But it happens. Rest assured, it happens, okay? Now, here's where things get a little goofy. Anton becomes a ghost, and his sole mission in life is to help his old high school basketball team do better, right? So he'll... You know, when a shot gets shot, he'll take it as a ghost and redirect it to the net, and, you know, all of a sudden, he'll block a shot, but make it look like, you know, it was just a wacky kind of... What are these pills, man? Make it look like it was just wacky physics or something like that. People, you know, you watch a game of basketball, you're like, how did that not go in? So that's every time you think of this. That's the ghost of Anton, man. Playing defense. And you can't see him, so you don't know if he's goaltending. So at the end of the movie, the main character, his team, like the protagonist team, and the other best team, like in the state, are playing in the championship, right? It's the fourth quarter. The protagonist is down by 1 point with like 10 seconds left on the clock, right? Which I think just goes to show you that your team is not that good, right? I mean, just think about it. Like, you have a ghost on your team. It's not just that you have one extra player. I'm going for this, by the way. You don't just have one extra player. You have one extra player who can fly, you know, who can carry the ball, who's invisible. As a result, I bet they don't take as many fouls as your average, you know, off-the-bench replacement level player. It's a good get here. You know what? We need this. And yet they're down by 1? Like, how does that happen? You had to be like 20-point overdogs. You have a ghost on your team. But anyway, the main character shoots a shot, but he's decided he's done with all the cheating, right? He shoots his shot. The ghost gets ready to alley-oop it, to put it in. And then the main character says, Anton, let it go. And then the ghost is like, whoa, am I actually, like, maybe doing something wrong here? And he lets it go, and then it goes in, so they win the state championship, okay? I don't know why, it's just one of those things from my youth that's, like, burned into my memory, is we rented this at, like, Jumbo Video. Probably 1996, 1997, and watched it. I did not particularly even enjoy the movie. It's from that era where, like, you know, if you're from the video store era, such as myself, your parents would go to the video store, they would have, like, you know, hey, 3 movies for $100 or something. I'm exaggerating, but it was expensive back then. Maybe like 3 movies for 15 bucks or for $9.99 or something. Your parents would rent like 2 movies they actually want to see and then be like, oh, also we have a child, so I don't know, just get something G-rated. And then that's how you end up watching these movies where, like, you know, oh, geez, a skateboarding dog. Dad, I'm 11 years old, come on. Anyway, even as a kid, I remember being like, so there, like, I don't think that means that your championship doesn't have an asterisk. I mean, you cheated your way through the regular season. Oh my god. You cheated your way through the state championship up until the final game. And then even within the final game, you cheated until the absolute final shot. What kind of lesson is this movie trying to... I mean, there is a lesson, I guess, and the lesson is, like, you know, if you're a ghost, like, get something better to do than meddling in high school athletics. But then there's also, like, a level for me of, like, you know, what kind of lesson is this sending to little kids? That's like, it's okay to, like, bend the rules a little bit as long as at the very end you make it look like it had no impact. Like, if they... Would it have had the same impact if there was, like, another shot that was going in and, you know, it's in the second quarter and he goes, Anton, let it go? And he lets it go? Like, it doesn't make a difference, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, literally you cheated for 99.5% of this basketball game. It merely appears that the final shot settled it all. But probably the only reason that the final shot was able to settle it all was because of the fact that you cheated to stay in the game in the first place. I'm just like, I just don't respect the message. Yes, is what I'm trying to say. After all that, I just don't respect the message, man. I'm not saying that means it's like a terrible movie. Like, you know, not every movie needs to be judged on, you know, its lessons. Like, what's the lesson for Avengers Infinity War, you know? What's the lesson for Primer? Oh, don't time travel so much, honey. You know, you just... It's just because they try to play it off at the end as if, like, the main character finally came to his senses. That's the thing that bothers me, I guess. I would like some HP, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You piece. You piece. Anyway, it's just one of those movies where I'm like, what you've done, like, with your ending, like, you haven't earned it. Like, I would like to feel like if that ever came out, like, if I was on the opposing basketball team, and, like, 20 years later, the main character came out publicly and was like, yeah, Ghost helped us win the state championship, but don't worry, on the final shot, you know, I told him to back off, and then it went in. On all those shots that looked like they were gonna miss, oh yeah, he was dunking them. He was... The ones that were clearly not going in, he adjusted in our favor. The ones that, the one at the end that I was pretty confident of, I said, okay, Anton, let it go. So we won fair and square. Source dude, just trust me. I would like to think that I would, you know, as a member of the opposing team, I would be like, okay, well, like, it's not a huge deal. Like, I can move on with my life, but, like, retroactively, like, we won the state championship, right? Can I get, like, that in the record books? I mean, you probably shouldn't have even been in the finals in the first place when you consider that you were only able to get there as a result of, you know, a ghost helping you the whole time. I don't think I'm being unreasonable here. But kids movies are just like that, man. You know how many kids movies, you know, have a child team up with like a zoo animal? It's crazy. Or don't even give me dude, I'm like Home Alone is one of the, I know I've talked about Home Alone recently, but Home Alone is one of the worst for me. Some movies just don't need sequels, right? Home Alone is kind of like a perfect little Christmas encapsulation. Home Alone 2, I kind of enjoy just because it's insane. It's a much worse movie, but there are some things in its favor, okay? It stars Tim Curry, and hey, New York is the real star, right? But how stupid do you have to be as the parents, like 2 years after the events of Home Alone 1, you let your kid get lost in New York City? Like, at some point, don't you... They should stop calling the series Home Alone. He's not home, for the record. He's in a hotel. Secondly, they should call the show, like, The Worst Parents Who Ever Existed. Yeah, I know, Catherine O'Hara, she expresses genuine remorse. She says, I'm just think of him in the city there all by himself, and I can't bear to think of it. Okay. Yeah, most people would say that that's sensible. That's why you don't let your kid get lost in New York in the first place, forehead. But, the real problem I have is, like, how stupid do the wet bandits have to be? Also known as the sticky bandits. Like, this kid punked you once. He's clearly an engineering genius. He's the son of Jigsaw from the Saw franchise. You see him go into, like, an abandoned brownstone in New York City, surrounded by building materials. A jar, paint cans, you know, scaffolding, plastic sheeting, grand pianos, stuff like that. Bunch of loose bricks on the ground. No, neither of them, neither Joe Pesci nor Daniel Stern, who played Marv, neither of them at any moment thought, wait a minute, like, this looks familiar. You think maybe we should just go? Nah, man. They go for it. They go in. All of a sudden, my man's getting electrocuted until he becomes a skeleton. It should be lethal. The fact that he's alive, to me, implies some kind of, like, almost super soldier origin story for him, but whatever. Did I not hit all the buttons? Can I leave, please? Thank you. Look, I'm just saying, man. Another one that annoys me? Well, I'll be honest with you, and maybe you're, like, not gonna be a big fan of this, but I think that a lot of people, from what I've seen, are in a similar boat, okay? I think a second season of Squid Game is... And I'm not saying that... Look, I'm of two minds about it. They did a really good job with Squid Game Season 1. It took 10 years to make. It was a show that makes you think and is also fun to watch, which is, you know, my ideal form of content. Is like, it's not shut your brain off style content, but you're like, hey, there's like some social commentary in here, but I choose to ignore it in favor of, tic-tac-toe, you know? That's my kind of entertainment. All I'm gonna say is that I feel like, and I don't want to spoil anything about Squid Game Season 1, because it's still very much in that window of, you know, you can be justified for having not seen it yet, even though people are talking about it. You know, you got stuff to do. But I am just like, the story made sense as a one-season thing, and then the second season almost feels like it's a conceit of, like, we've constructed a way that we could have a second season if public opinion warrants. Did season 1 come to a conclusive end necessarily? No, there's some threads, you know? But I almost see it like... And you can only really see this in hindsight. So maybe... by the way, the way I'm of two minds is because, hey, they did a good job on, like, you know, season 1. Let's wait till they screw up, if they do, on season 2, before we go, like, this is a bad idea. I guess you give them a chance, right? I'm not even, you know, people always love to talk about, like, the economics of it. Well, it made, like, $1 billion, so you gotta... Okay, maybe, but, like... I don't work for Netflix, so, like, I don't really care. So I always laugh when, you know, like news comes out and people are like, look at what it did to Nintendo's stock price. And I'm like, what? You're not even a shareholder. Like, who cares? Who gives a crap, man? You don't... Look at the NPD sales reports. The new Uncharted collection selling like crazy. Oh, do you, like, work at Sony? No. I just love commerce. Anyway. Look, if you're into what you're into, I'm not trying to cause problems for you here. It's just not... I'm not that interested in the, you know, economic impact of Squid Game on Netflix's bottom line as much as I am, you know, talking about it as like a show. But it reminds me of like The Matrix, right? Like The Matrix 1, it did such a good job. It didn't, it was, you know, revolutionary. People were talking about it. It was more popular than Squid Game. I know that's hard to believe right now, but it's true. Had YouTube existed back then, oh my god. You know how many, like, you know, our take on the bullet time videos you would have gotten? It's a little harder to make than Dalgona honeycomb toffee candy, but still. But it's only, you know, at the time, Matrix 1 was so good. Came out, we said, we gotta give them a shot at a second one, a third one. Look at all this incredible stuff they have planned. Then it turned out, you know, after the first one, we saw the second one, we saw the third one, we said, you know what? I've figured out I actually don't care about the answers to any of these mysteries. I just want to watch good things. And they kind of screwed that part up. Not to be unnecessarily rude. And yeah, I think that history is a little kinder in hindsight to the second Matrix movie. And the third one is the one that makes the irredeemable movie sin of just being like very boring and incredibly self-indulgent. But the second one at least has like some parts in it that are kind of cool, if not nearly getting to the highs of the second movie. And yeah, the CG is not great, but you know, it was, for its time, it was okay. Similarly, I had another example I've forgotten about. Oh, you know what it was? It was the Hunger Games, where like the first Hunger Games movie, and again, just 'cause, yeah, they're based on books. That doesn't mean you need to make all the books into movies, you know? You know, there's a second Forrest Gump book. Why don't you look up why they're not making that one into a movie? It's ridiculous. It's quite frankly, it's just absurd. How many world events can one man be present for? Like, at some point, it's like Paul McCartney. Really, Paul? You saw all the lonely people? Who do you think you are, Forrest Gump? Epic callback, streamer. Anyway, you know, the first Hunger Games movie... I volunteer, you see, you know, the capital, the difference between the way that people live in the districts, the way that people live in the capital. You get all the Stanley Tucci stuff. Ha ha! You know, the girl on fire! Who doesn't love Stanley Tucci, right? And then you get the thrill of the games, the drama that takes place, the unprecedented ending. And you're like, wow, that was a pretty good story. Then the second one, you're like, okay, they have a gimmick that makes a little bit of sense, a Tournament of Champions. Movie, and I will say, Catching Fire, I think, is a better movie than the first Hunger Games movie. I'm admittedly, I was in my like mid-20s when they came out. I'm not gonna say that they're my favorite movies ever made. Even if they were, I'd have to lie to you and be like, no, it's actually The Conversation, starring Gene Hackman. But either way, I definitely thought that the second one was better than the first one. Philip Seymour Hoffman, Jeffrey Wright. I mean, come on. And it ends in such a way that it ends on like a cliffhanger of like, whoa, I didn't even know you could like do that. That's crazy. Where does the story go from here? And then in the third and fourth movie, they start wrapping things up, and why am I standing here? And then it turns out that they sucked. Maybe it was a necessary conclusion for the movie to have. Maybe, of course, I have to imagine people probably would have been like, you can't just end it there. But I think there's a lesson to be learned, you know, in the idea that, you know, sometimes, at least from a legacy standpoint, sometimes less is more, you know? instead of just making sequels until the box office gross is no longer worth it, or until like the lead actor decides like, hey, I'd rather like be in movies that are like good. Yeah, you know, eventually Anna Faris is gonna be like, I don't want to be in any more scary movies. I'm trying to do like some serious stuff now. I'm gonna play Daisy in the Mario movie with my husband Chris Pratt. I don't know if they're still married. I'm not trying to get involved in all that stuff, okay? All I'm saying is, I don't want to be seen as the anti-Squid Game guy. The first season was very good. I do, you know, whenever it's like, you know, this will return in season 2, I'm like, okay, you know, I'll give it a shot, but I guess I would describe myself as cautiously pessimistic. I'll watch it 100% because Netflix only comes out with about 4 shows a year that are worth even turning on at this point, and it is certainly one of them. I just don't see how you can like replicate the magic. It seems like there's some artifice involved now. That being said, it's not my job to see how they could do it. That's, you know, we'll leave that up to the writers and the investors. But what do I know? I've just been watching, you know, 12 seasons of Seinfeld on Netflix, man. Bop bop, by the way, and I'll do it again. We can do whatever we want here. Give me a damage upgrade. Much needed damage upgrade. So we haven't talked about Isaac too much on this run. We have conjoined, which is actually helpful. I also feel like we're getting kind of an insane value out of multi-dimensional baby and astral projection. Our actual stats are kind of not good, but our ability to do damage is nice, especially after we take damage. I wouldn't classify this as like a guaranteed win, but maybe it's a little bit better than expected given the items that you can see at your disposal. We also got a lot of items in the item tracker. Also, we've gulped some good trinkets. That was kind of close. I mean, like, every time we pick up a penny, it gives us a chance to get a spirit heart and a red heart, so, like, that's pretty sick. I know you're gonna ask. And, by the way, I'm stoked, okay? I have not seen even a mild, like, middling review of Dune from somebody I know who's seen it, like, on, and then posted about it on Twitter, for example. I know that, like, the critics were like, it's pretty good. But the actual, like, normal human being reaction to it is even better. Like, it seems pretty much everybody I know who has tweeted about seeing it is like, this is a movie that's not only very good, but also, like, has inspired me to start reading the books as well. Or the book? I don't know. I do know it's by Frank Herbert. That shows up in Jeopardy from time to time. I don't know anything else about it. So I know you're going to be like, NL, when are you going to go see it? Well, the answer is, I hate the way that HBO does their digital releases, okay? Why can't I go to the movie theater? Well, I could. It's just it's harder than it's ever been before in my life. It's not even like COVID necessarily anymore, but, you know, when you got a 1-year-old baby, going to see a movie in the theater is a difficult thing to do because you got to find somebody to watch the baby, and then COVID becomes an issue to some extent because, you know, we don't have a ton of family that live around us. And then that adds another extra expense onto a night that's already somewhat expensive. And it's not like, you know, I can't, you know, rub the nickels together to see Dune. Oh, one moment, please. And it's not like, I'm back, by the way. It's not like we don't have the ability to, you know, finagle the accounts to watch Dune. It's more like you kind of reach a point where you're like, a lot of, you know, people are like, it's already justifiably, or perhaps unjustifiably expensive to go see a movie, then throw in, like, childcare expenses over top of it, and you're like, you know, is the movie worth, like, $100 for 2 people to go see it? Maybe yes, maybe no. But either way, I kind of feel like this is beside the point. Like, I don't know, all of a sudden, the people who get mad at me for saying you should show up for work 90 seconds early so you can put your stuff in the locker before your shift starts are like, no, you should actually stand for the corporation. Even if they have the files digitally and are digitally distributing them to theaters, you should just play with them on their own terms. And, you know, come on, stop being such a nerd. Go see it in theaters. It's only annoying to me because it's out on HBO Max in America, right? That's correct, yes. And in theaters in America. Things that come out on HBO Max in America come to a service in Canada called Crave, which is included with your HBO subscription. Like 15% of HBO's currently active subscribers, the only reason I'm still subscribed to HBO... Well, okay, I've been watching some documentaries, and they make good ones, honestly. The other reason is because I got it for Game of Thrones, and, you know, just neglected to cancel it, and then said, fine, I guess I'm like an HBO guy now. I do love the Larry Sanders Show. But I don't respect that they pick and choose, and I don't know the machinations behind the scenes, but they pick and choose what HBO Max movies get included with the Crave subscription and which ones don't. For example, Zack Snyder's Justice League, not that I had any interest in it, but is a day one Crave HBO Max concurrent release. The way it should be. In my opinion, at least. Dune, on the other hand, for whatever reason, theaters only. Not available on Crave. And I'm willing to wait for it, you know? Like, I don't need to see it right away. I got other priorities taking up my brain space, for sure. But it's more just like, you know, it's like the principle of it. It's the same as, like, the Disney Plus, like, Premier Access, non-Premier Access stuff, where you're like, you know, it just feels bad to pay for a subscription to something, and then they're like, this is available for $40 to subscribers. But, yeah, I don't know. It also annoys me because I'm like, come on, Canadian theater revenue can't be that high. There's only like 80 of us. Like, have you seen the population density of Canada? Sure, like in the cities, there's a decent amount of people, but like, you know, broadly speaking, it's wide open spaces by the Dixie Chicks. Room to make a big mistake. Room to make a big mistake. Like not putting... Dune, explain to me, how is this fair? Some movies, Zack Snyder's Justice League, comes to HBO Max and Crave concurrently, day one. They gave the fans what they asked for. Dune, Denis Villeneuve, French-Canadian director, not available to see in Canada. Not even with Premier Access. Does this seem fair to you? I don't know, unfair maybe is not the word I would use, but annoying. Don't you do it. This seems like we're definitely gonna win. I mean, like, we've had 2 Curse of the Unknowns in a row, but at least our Red Hearts were definitely full. And then Astral Projection did some decent damage. We popped perks. What the heck happened there? Something to do with Astral Projection, I'm sure. Our damage stat is horrible, by the way. We're lucky we got, like, Bloody Gust for a nice rate of fire increase, but, like, overall, this is, like, pretty... It's pretty bad. That being said, I mean, HP, we had a lot of it on this run. We gave a lot of it away to leverage for deals with the devil, and yet, you know, we couldn't keep it off of us, man. Anyway, long story short, I'm eager to watch Dune when it's available to be watched digitally. I'm not anti-theater. You can go back to prior to COVID plus baby, I was seeing the theater. You know, I mean, there's some psychos out there. They're like, I go see 1 movie a week. Come on, like, let's. You're really going to see, like, you know, the Zach Braff film, The Last Kiss? I get it. I like going to the theater too, but you gotta have some standards, okay? I was going like maybe 1 to 1.5 times per month on average. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!